Hey, Steve Gamache here with a Chef Knives to Go quick look product review, and this is a very unique knife. Mark got a shipment of these in. I think he got 25 in, and they went out in like under 24 hours. So this has been a highly anticipated knife. So the blacksmith is, I'll probably butcher this, but Itsuo Doi. It is a Aogami or blue number 2 Gyuto 240 millimeter knife. It's unique for this maker in that Mark usually has only gotten in single bevel traditional style knives from his father, who's a world-renowned blacksmith, but he's taken over. And so this is a double bevel Guto. And I have not used this one yet. I'm going to make this a two-part video, so I wanted to keep it clean. It's a reactive blade, so I will be using it and then doing part 2 for some performance comments. But gotten great feedback already on the forums. I ordered this, or I should say ordered it, but I asked Mark to send it without the handle attached. So these are the handles he's been putting on them, which are octagonal, walnut, and maple ferrule. So with that said, the core steel on this knife is Aogami or blue paper number 2, reactive high carbon steel from Hitachi. The heat treat's approximately 62-ish Rockwell on that core steel. That's what they shoot for at the shop, the blacksmith shop. And these will vary just a little bit from knife to knife in dimensions and weights and thickness and so on. This particular one, again, with this handle without any epoxy on it, etc., is about 217 grams or 7.7 ounces. And the edge length is about 248 on the edge, so these can vary a little bit, but about 9 3/4 inches. Overall length, again, it's going to depend on the handle, but the stock handle, approximately 16 inches on the overall length. I measured the spine thickness, and this has a really almost continuous distal taper, and I can't comment as to the tip, performance yet because I haven't used it, but it looks like it should perform very nicely. So these are fairly beefy, but then they kind of thin down as they go. So I took 4 measurements this time, right above the heel or the chin, about 3.4 millimeters, and then I took it about halfway down the blade, about 2.75, took it a little bit further down, maybe around right here, 2.3, and then took it a couple inches back from the tip, about 1.85, and then it thins down from there. It doesn't get super, super skinny until you hit the grind, but that'll give you an idea. It is a continuous taper as we go down. Blade height, these are not super tall, but that's kind of the profile Mark requested. So it's about 47 3/4 is this particular sample. And the handle that he's putting on there is just kind of a basic. This particular one's finished pretty nicely, and I know he's going to review that with the maker of these to make sure they're all finished well. But just a basic, no frills, octagonal walnut with a maple ferrule. And the circumference on the one he sent here, which I would assume is the same thing he's putting on the other ones, is about 3 inches or 76 millimeters where the ferrule meets the main part of the handle wood, which is a typical size. And the way it's installed with the tang, when they set it up, it should be pretty close to flush. Sorry, got to get that back underneath the camera there. Pretty flush here. I think that's kind of the way they're installing them, so you've got a smooth transition for your pinch grip. But if you have a custom handle, that's up to you how you want to handle that. So let's take a look at the blade. These are finished beautifully, and these are getting rave reviews on the finish and the performance. A lot of people have some great comments so far. It just kind of went out last week, but you've got some well-executed hand-chiseled kanji. Let me try to get a good beauty shot here. There's a really nice cladding slash, core differentiation there. It's really pretty. This is going to be a little tricky, but let's see what we can do here. How about that? Is that better? Sorry, trying to get a good shot for what I put on the postings for the video. But you've got a real smooth satin finish on this. Looks like some kind of brush finish, longitudinal finish strokes here, which is nice because when you clean it, you tend to wipe the knife this way, so any kind of scratches that come in, which they will, of course, over use, will kind of go with the flow. So it's not a deep hairline or brush finish, but it's really pretty. And then you've got a nice polish on the core steel. Just a really beautiful knife. You've got on the other side, you've got some embossed kanji, very well executed. And here's a close-up of the chiseled kanji. You can feel it when your finger runs across it. It's very, very crisp, really nicely done. You've got It's not super rounded, but you've got a nice polish to the spine and a little bit of rounding on the edges. And then kind of the same deal. You've got a fair amount of polish. I don't want to drop this out of the handle and boink it. But you've got a fair amount of polish back here on the choil. And then just a little relief on the corners. But it's really nicely done. It's very well executed. So very comfortable. The out-of-the-box edge on this is pretty nice. I'll give it a 6 out of 10. Of course, you can probably put a nicer edge on it if you know what you're doing. But it seems serviceable. I'll put an edge on this just to kind of clear out that steel and create some fresh, fresh edge on it. But just a really, really pretty knife. Again, the handle, with this handle without the epoxy, which will make a little bit of difference, the balance point is right about there. With the epoxy, I bet it's going to be about right there. But as far as my pinch, now my hands aren't that big, but pinch is about right there. So the balance point with this handle without, epoxy and stuff is about a little bit in front of the pinch grip. So it gives you a little bit of mass as far as chopping power goes. The profile on this blade, a little dirt on that. So here's the profile on the blade. It's kind of a continuous curve. There's not a huge flat spot, but it's very shallow as far as the belly goes. So here's, keep everything in focus here. So you got a little bit of a flat at the heel. It kind of goes into a, barely a stop. It's not a hard stop at all, but it just kind of flows into a little bit of a stop there at the back. And then it's pretty continuous, but you've got a low, kind of a very gradual belly. I can get, on this particular one, these will vary just a little bit, but I can get about right in there before the tip starts trying to want to dig in the board. So it's not going to be a huge rocker. It's going to be great for push-pull cuts, guillotining glides, that kind of stuff. If you're a pure chopper, you may not have enough flat spot. Definitely not a huge rocker, but you can easily rock over, carrots and anything smaller than that, no problem. Maybe even zucchini, that kind of stuff. But just a really, really pretty blade. This will be a little bit longer review because I haven't, like I said, I haven't used it yet, so I'll come back with part 2. I'm going to insert this in between, so let me stop. Okay, so I've had a chance to use the knife a little bit, and I might have mentioned this in the video on the previous recording component, but these actually don't seem to have any kind of lacquer coating on them. There was some talk of that, but I'm getting, basic reactivity kind of right off the bat here. So it's not extreme. It's actually not super reactive, at least from some of my experiences. But anyway, so I used the knife a bit, and it's definitely got a real stiff, confident feel on the board. The profile is really nice. As we discussed, it doesn't have a lot of, flat area to it, but it works really nice for low to medium rocking. Draw cuts are really, really nice with that low tip, and also push-pull cuts, guillotine and glide. Pure chopping is not going to be great with this, but, or not high rocking either, but it just was a pretty versatile profile for a lot of techniques, and like I said, it's a real smooth profile, really well done. So the knife does have a continuous stitzel taper. This could change over time depending on the finish. I found the knife to wedge a little bit in some bigger product like root vegetables and cabbage and stuff, but it should make a really great slicer. It does really good through all kinds of just standard kind of soft product. Again, this is kind of a cursory use, so I haven't spent a ton of time with it, so these are quick observations and not long-term, living with the knife day after day, but it's a beautifully done blade, and we'll take it back to the regular segment. So if this style of knife is for you, or you like something a little stiffer with a little bit of meat behind the edge and a thick, kind of confident feel to it, some mass to it, this could be, the knife kind of for your style. So it just depends. If you're looking for a pure-on, laser with like ghosting through product, that's not what this thing does. It's not the style of knife that it is. So anyway, we'll turn it back to the ending of the video. So here you have a really cool, unique knife. This is the Itsuo Doi Aogami, or Blue No. 2 Gyuto 240mm double beveled knife.